What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back, PAULY'S Auto. Got the 1.5 LFV engine. Now this 2020 had come in under warranty. Customer concern was that the radio needed to be programmed and that she was having intermittent hesitation issues, misfiring, check engine light on, StabiliTrak light on, going into limp mode, P0300 stored. Okay, so with all that being said, this vehicle only had 27,000 miles on it. It was covered under powertrain warranty, of course, but she had gotten her own display unit for the radio issue. You're going to see in the video me talking about this display unit and how somebody had attempted to fix the radio issue she was having. And this is why I'm glad I'm making this video. This video is primarily meant to help customers as well as help the technician, okay? Let's talk about the customer aspect. She had a radio issue. She had a friend attempt to repair radio issue. What people don't understand, customers in general don't tend to understand about new cars is sometimes the issue you're having with an infotainment system issue, display issue. I think her original concern was she had cracked the display. So either way, she needed a display. But she was under the impression, or they were under the impression, that the display that you touch is the actual radio in the car. Now, this is where I'm going to clarify why it's important for you to pay somebody who understands, or who is a professional who understands the vehicle and understands what they're doing. This is why you pay them for their expertise. Are you going to have bad experiences out there? Absolutely. But not always, okay? There are good dealerships out there. There are good dealer technicians out there. I consider myself one of them, okay? Are they all good? No. But you could say the same thing about the aftermarket, okay? I've worked in that side of this industry. But put all that aside. This is why it's important to bring your vehicle to somebody who is experienced, who is trained, who is reputable, who does have that going for them, okay? It's fine if you want to try to do it cheaper. However, be careful, because in this particular instance, and this is a perfect example of it, the individual who tried to help this customer actually cost them a lot more headache than what it was worth. When you cut wires and you don't understand what wires do, and you don't understand how the system works, you're assuming you got it all figured out, right? When in fact you really don't, okay? You haven't been properly trained. You don't understand how the system works. You don't understand all the variables involved in that. When this wire was cut, now this could very well have changed in the time from the time I filmed this, which was months ago, okay? This is very old footage. It doesn't matter. This particular wire that was cut can only be serviced by harness, okay? That which means you have to get a new harness for the entire dash in order to repair this concern. The other aspect of this, if you are having a radio issue and you're going after a display unit, okay, because here's the disconnect. A lot of customers, and this isn't a criticism, assume that their radio is wherever they're hitting buttons, when in fact their radio is in a completely different location. Perfect example. The display unit, the touchscreen that you're touching for your radio, is not your radio. Your radio actually lives in another spot. The display unit is what you're touching. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. It's very important that you have somebody working on your vehicle that actually understands what they're working on. Okay? Before they start cutting wires, before they start disconnecting things, and especially, and I cannot stress this enough, whenever it concerns warranty. So if your vehicle's covered under warranty, please, this is a technician just telling you straight up, don't touch anything. Just bring it in and tell me exactly what's going on, word for word. If the consultant that you're talking to isn't getting the message across to the technician, then talk to the technician. Talk to the guy who's actually diagnosing the car. Tell me exactly what's going on. Because here's the problem, okay? I need to know exactly what's going on so that I can get it through to the powers to be within the warranty program to get the problem addressed, to get the concern addressed. I mean, I don't want you to not have a working display. I don't want you to not have a working radio, okay? But a lot of times, a lot of your issues are related to software issues, firmware issues, calibrations, pin fitment issues. There may be a bulletin out there saying, hey, we got to replace all of this because they designed this wrong or they didn't put this in right. Okay. So when your vehicle is brand new and you made this major investment and you spent all this money, take it to the appropriate people who can help you out. Now, if you're not getting that support, then I encourage you to raise your concerns like anyone should. And and I'll be honest with you. In today's world, it would not surprise me, okay, that you're not getting the support that you deserve. And that's very unfortunate. But I am not that individual. And I'm out here telling you, don't do it. Because even if you have to go through a little bit of a headache, it will cost you less money than to just assume and just go willy-nilly on it, okay? Anyways, we're going to put all that aside. That was my little public service announcement. When it comes to the injection issues you're about to see, I want to make this very clear to people. Again, this video you're about to see is a warranty job. I am only authorized under warranty to use GM AC Delco top tier engine cleaner to do the service I'm about to do. Now, I love the stuff. I think it does an amazing job. Does that mean I do not agree or do not think that there are other products out there on the market that can do equal, if not better, or whatever the case may be, job of doing the exact same thing? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I do like this stuff, though, because they do have a very good brand. I'm just saying, GM actually did themselves do justice there. However, when it comes to warranty, I have to go with what I have to go with. On top of that, I will make a disclaimer here. If you decide, and you're coming across my video, and you decide, hey, I seen Pauly's Auto, and he was using this stuff, and this is what fixed the problem. Okay, before you go all crazy, read the instructions, okay? You can't just go soaking, you can't just go using this stuff like as if, whatever Pauly said, dump it down the holes, and Pauly said, run it through the injectors. Okay, first of all, you cannot let that sit on top of a cylinder for more than 3 hours. You want to know how I know that? My mentor, a guy who's been doing GM for a lot longer than me, pre-warned me, okay? Many, many times. He goes, hey, and I already knew that, but he reiterated it to me. He's like, hey, whoa. Pump the brakes there, pal. Because he knows the product, okay? And he has taught me a lot of things. So I'm sharing his information, but at the same time, I'm just like, you guys got to think about things before you just go willy-nilly doing things, okay? It kind of goes back to the display unit. Just because you think you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you can, okay? You need to be properly trained, in my opinion, okay? You're dealing with some of these vehicles are $40,000, $50,000, and you're going to go in there and just start lopping wires. Anyways, I don't mean to rant, I don't mean to rave, but this stuff has to be mixed properly when you're running it through injectors, okay? 50-50 mix, guys. Gasoline and top tier, 50-50 mix when you're running it through injectors. When you're running it through the intake, you can run it pure, but you need to do it correctly. You need to be trained correctly on how to administer it. You can't be dumping the stuff straight in the intake and just whatever, right? It's got to be administered slowly, okay? Slower is better. You're not going to learn that from a YouTube video, and I'm not going to show you that because that's what training's for. I'll do my best to show you as much as I can, but training is key. I'm a professional technician. These are professional techniques. This is a video for informative purposes for a technician, okay? And a customer to some aspect. The other thing, I recommend, this is my personal recommendation, not GM's, but I would personally recommend, and honestly, in any direct injection engine, to run a cleaner through those injectors and on the backside of those valves every 30,000 miles. Why? Well, it's part of the fact that we're running direct injection on a gasoline engine. There's no more port injection. So when you don't have gasoline spraying behind the intake valve, there's nothing to lubricate the valve. There's nothing to stop them valves from coking up with crap that's being dumped in your intake, that's being pushed back through the EGR system and the variable valve timing. Okay, again, we've gotten rid of EGR. EGR is actually an old technology. Yep, that's right. Thanks to variable valve timing, we don't have to have EGR no more. We don't have to have an EGR valve dumping all that back. We just advance and retard our timing and adjust accordingly, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that the valves can become coked. They can walk, they can get coked up, they're not seating right, whatever. If you run a cleaner through them every 30K customer and you spend the money, I know it seems like, what do the guys in the shop say? Oh, it's a wallet flush, right? They call it a wallet flush because we're trying to take your money, right? Well, I'm a technician and I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't a wallet flush. If done properly, if done by a trained technician, it's not a wallet flush. Here's why. Because you're dealing with direct injection engines. It's a different mindset. The people who out there telling you the opposite are the ones that are still in the old school mentality of, well, we're dealing with port injection. Well, with port injection, yeah, it was kind of a wallet flush, but not with direct injection. I'm going to leave you on that. Take it for what it is. You want your car to run right? You want it to run smoothly? Take care of it. keep up on its maintenance. Oil changes are the biggest. Running regular induction and fuel injection services are a big one. I'm just saying, fluid maintenance, general service can go a long ways. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I apologize for the length, but you're going to get something out of it. So let's get into it. And hopefully you can see this. Oh, the damn glare on this. I got the misfire counts up on this 1.5. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Alright, you'll be able to see it a little better here. All of our misfire counters are being tracked on this line graph here on the yellow line. They're all overlaying one another, so you're going to be able to see when it misfires. Now the top line there, that purple line, is engine load. So if you see, as I accelerate, engine load goes up, right? This is about as good as I can do for a visual. Now what's happening is the complaint is that this is a 2012 or a 2020 Chevy Malibu with the 1.5 with the turbo, okay? It's setting P0300 codes, and what'll happen is, watch the engine load, you're going to see these misfires occurring primarily on cylinder 3, and it's intermittent, guys, and you can feel it hesitating, like a fuel delivery issue, and that's what I suspect it is. I've already ruled out ignition, you know, doing basically secondary leak tests on the boots, looking for carbon tracking, looking for broken spark plugs, things of that nature. I've ruled that out in the bay. I may try to go after the coil and do a coil swap, but we can do that once we get back. But anyways, this is the best I can do. I'm gonna try to do a hard excel and get into a boost event here. Alright, so keep an eye on that load and then watch the counters as I get up to, you know, as I boost here under load. Alright, here we go. There it was. I felt one. Didn't log it though. Sometimes it'll log it, sometimes it won't. Let's try again. But I can definitely feel the hesitation. And here we go. I was just doing it. I don't want to do it. I've already done a crank relearn because I suspect the battery had been disconnected at some point. Just to rule that out as a variable, but this is intermittently happening, and when it does, obviously the service traction light comes on and the check engine light flashes and it goes into reduced power mode. Alright, let's try one more boost here. Do it. Try cruising here. She says it happens while cruising too. There were a couple. As we're cruising, you might see a couple. It's really hard to do on a wide open because the misfire strategy is not as good, you know, it's not as active then. But as we cruise here under load, we'll see if we log any. One more loop here. Pretty much filming this so that I have proof through warranty. It just doesn't seem to want to do it now. unless it's learned what it wants to learn. But the fact that it's intermittent leads me to believe we have like an injector that's hanging or plugged or something. You can sometimes get them logged at idle doing snaps in bay. She said it happens most while cruising on the highway. Well, and that's another ball of wax we'll talk about here too. Alright, let's see if we can't get this captured. Now I know they're, you know, they do have injection problems, but I gotta be able to prove it. And I can certainly run an A-fit test on it, which I will do regardless, because this vehicle only has 27,000 miles on it, and she just bought it not too long ago. I mean, it's a nice little car. Let's see here. Let's see if we can't get it to log some misfires here. It was missing mostly on cylinder 3, or that's the one it was logging it on last time, but it's so intermittent. Let's try boosting. Fascinating. No, it's not doing it. Unless I cleared the injectors out, romping on her here. Might be able to get away with just cleaning these. Let's try an injector clean and see what happens. But let's try it one more time. Dips in the engine load are from when it's shifting, when the transmission's shifting. So that's what you're seeing there. No, it ain't doing it. Maybe that crank relearn did help. But the funny thing is I just had cylinder 3 doing it after the crank relearn, so I don't know if maybe it just needed to do a wide open throttle update. Oh, there it's logging them. There it's logging them right there. You can see it logged some on cylinder 4, it looks like. Let's see here. Now we're in a D-cell fuel cut. Not seeing any. I mean, we're getting well up in the 100% on our engine load, which is good. But I'm not logging any misses now. What's so weird is I just was too. Sorry for that glare. Doing the best I can here. These computer screens are a little harder to film on because they glare so much. I don't know. Sure odd that it's not doing it now. She said it does it all the time. Oh, there we go. There it missed. See that? Cylinders 2 and 3. Tracked a couple. Thing is though, is it's not enough to throw the light. It was throwing the light before. Let's try another boost here. Oh, there we go. It's tracking 2 on cylinder 2. Scott start stopping it too. Alright, let's try it. It's so random when it does it, which leads me to believe injection. You know, that's why it's throwing a 300 code, because it's not cylinder specific, but it's worse on cylinder 3. That's the one that I've literally seen it have like 50 counts. And I wish it would do it now, but it's not. Of course, once I turn the camera on, it's not doing it. Fascinating. And I checked freeze frame data, and it's occurring when she's. Yeah, there we go. There's some more random ones. And it was occurring when she was at about 40% throttle, or 40% load, if you will, and going about 75 miles an hour was the last one. So I'm going to take this out on the highway and see what it does at cruising speeds. Now, I want these injectors to be piping hot when I do the AFIT testing, because that's when it occurred. It occurs most on her, as according to the freeze frame data, is when it's hot. And that, like I said, I don't suspect ignition. Not at this point, because it's so random on all the cylinders. And I checked, for secondary leaks. They can jump, all the coils on the secondary side were able to jump 30 kV of a gap. So I mean, that should be more than enough. Nice bright spark. I could scope them, I suppose, check their amperages out, but boy, you sure would think that, a weak secondary, though. I mean, it's possible. Secondary winding weak in one of the coils, but you would think it'd be more cylinder specific in that case, and which cylinder 3 is, but again, I'm leaning towards injection. Let's try another. There we go. There's a few. This is moderate load there. I was about, what, 70% load. Let's try to keep it in that 40% load range and see what happens. And kind of keep it, yeah, that would be more like at a cruising speed. And that's pretty much when it was occurring on her, according to freeze frame data, of course, and from what she told me. She told me that she was just cruising, and then all of a sudden she can feel it. And then she did say it kind of feels like it's lacking power when I step on it. And I asked her, I was like, well, does it kind of like, fish bite a little bit, like almost like jerk? And she's like, yeah. She's like, it feels really weird. Yep, there we go. Just logged a few more on cylinder 1 there. That's why, I thought maybe it was a cam crank relearn issue. But the lights aren't on right now, so it's not enough misfiring to justify throwing a mill. But before it was. And who knows, maybe it occurs more when the injectors are a little cooler. I don't know. Shut this window, that's kind of annoying. And there, I felt it. There, I felt it right there in a D-cell. 2 on cylinder 3 again during a D-cell event, and I actually felt the misfire there. So I'm definitely leaning towards injection, guys, but I'm still gonna cruise it on the highway here just to see. I think these injectors are having flow issues. I don't buy that it's an ignition related issue, because it, you know, it doesn't do it all the time under load. Let's see. And the only code I'm flagging is that 300. You know, so if it was like a crank sensor or some kind of cam signal issue, you sure think we would throw some kind of check engine light, or would have thrown some kind of check engine light. All right, let's see here. We're out on the highway now. I'm gonna get up to moderate speed. I'm gonna cruise at about 60 miles an hour and see. Cruise set to 65 miles an hour. It's moderate load. And you can see we're on, our load is at what? Right about 27% ish. Yeah. 20 to 30% range. This is just cruising on the highway. We're gonna see what it does now. See if it intermittently happens. Just more evidence that it's fuel delivery issue, not ignition. There we go. Now we're getting in that 40% range. She said it happens randomly, so that's similar to the Traverse when I did that one with these direct injection engines. They can do that. You'll be cruising in, and all of a sudden you can feel the misfire, and the computer doesn't know which cylinder because it's so random, and then it flags a P0300. You might get a cylinder specific if it's enough counts. But because of the randomness of it, usually flags the 300, and that's it. That's all you get. The joys of duplicating the concern. So far, so good. Try stepping into it a little. Going to a D-cell. Cruise is taken back over. Acceleration again. Oh, there I felt it. Felt a couple, but it didn't even register on the misfire counters. I felt it as soon as I loaded it there. A couple little jerks. It's real subtle, but it shouldn't do it, and that tells me it's fuel. Could it be ignition? I guess it's possible. I mean, it could definitely be a weak coil, but she did say her fuel mileage has been it's been lower than usual, so that kind of tells you. And then if you look at the trim values, they're trim and negative, especially on the freeze frame. I think it was trimming about -10 total trim, which is a little excessive, and that usually is an indication you got injection issues. We could try running a cleaner through it, but I'm going to go off of what I see on the AFET test is what's going to ultimately drive that train. So let me give it a load again. And do a D-cell. There we go. Tracked a couple there on our D-cell. So So our D-cell is in a fuel cut mode, which means it's basically going to cut all fuel to the cylinders. So my thoughts on that is the reason it's misfiring is because when you load it, it's obviously going to trim more positive, right? And then as you do a D-cell, it's going to trim extreme negative to cut them injectors off altogether. So either they're over fueling, which means they're flowing too much during that load, and that would explain the negative trims as well, and then or they're leaking, and then when it goes into the D-cell, there's still fuel there, and that's what's causing our D-cell event misfire. That's my theory on it anyways. So here we go. Let's load it again. There, I felt another one. Oh yeah, I felt it there. But no, it didn't log it. But again, you got to remember, the misfire counts aren't as active under that type of load, so they're just not. I gotta reset my cruise. When you're under a heavy load, misfire counters mean nothing. So, alright, let's do a turnaround. This looks good right here. Alright, so we're coming to a stop here. Oh, there we go. As soon as we got to idle. Now we're in, the vehicle shut off because we're in start stop. Now let's go ahead and start. We're gonna boost. Under load. Oh yeah, I can feel it. I can just feel it hesitating. Now we're in a D-cell again. We're gonna hit resume on our cruise. Here's whereabouts it'll actually flag the mill, but because she may or may not be using cruise control when it's occurring, I'm gonna kind of put my foot on the accelerator pedal and try to maintain that 65 to 67 mile an hour range. I think she logged at about 75 miles an hour last time. There I felt one. It's so subtle. Same symptoms as my old lady's car when it had those injection problems, and you could see even on that AFET test that, I mean, their spec range is way above what I believe they should have. You know, minus 15% to positive 15%. There we go. You got a few right there. But again, I'm not flagging that mill like before. But with injectors, it can be so hit or miss when they want to decide to misfire when you have flow problems. There again, it's logging some. Definitely not as bad as it was. So crank relearn did help, but it's not fixed. There's no way. I don't buy it. I can still feel the hesitation, even though it's not flagging the mill. I can feel it, and I know it's there. And you can still see it on the D-cell. It shouldn't have any misfires on the D-cell. None. Not if them injectors are doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're flowing the right amount of fuel, and I just don't feel like they are. There we go. It's definitely during that decel event on cylinder 3. Cylinder 3 seems to be the problem 90% of the time. So I believe that cylinder 3 injector's got the flow issues, and that's definitely going to affect the trimming of the fuel, because these monitor them oxygen sensors so closely, especially during that decel. Oh, there was one. Yep, there we go. Cylinder 3 again. Cool, now it's doing it. But the light's not flashing. And that's just because it isn't enough. It's not enough misfires. It's got to be, get up in the 50 count range consistently, and then it'll throw the mill on and flash the servicing electronic stability control and all that. Which matches the concern. So let's try lightly loading in a little bit here. Come back into a cruise speed. There, logged a couple more. It's always on that decel that it, you decel it, and then it'll log them misfires, and that's because of them injectors are not flowing right. So I suppose we could take a quick peek at some trims. Let's go back. Let's take a look at some fuel trim data. Oop, wrong one. Wrong one. Take a look at trim data here. What are we looking at? Engine load. Yeah, that's because I only have that pin locked. Let's go back here. Whoa. Alright. Let's see here. There's our short and our long right there. You can see we're running negative trims, negative cruising speed. I can try locking those real quick. Let's see. Let's lock that one. Let's lock this one. Let's go to a line graph real quick. Makes it easier to see. Engine load is going to be the one that you see here. I'm loading. There's engine load, and then the trims are, the long term is the green, and then the blue is our short term trim. And our zero line is basically where they're, you can see. Hold on. So there you can see they're trimming right around zero under load, and then I decel and they should stay at zero because we're in a fuel cut, and they are. Now I'm decelerating. Okay, we're gonna do some 30 mile an hour cruising and just kind of look at these trims and show you that they're trending negative. And there we go. So now I'm lightly loading, and you can see my short term went positive, which it should do. Light load, slight trimming. But you can see that long term has a memory stored of negative trims. I still don't like them trims. They're trending negative. So here, let me give it a acceleration. Decel. And look at that. See that? Negative. I guess we could look at some O2 responses. Let's see. Let me bring this down here. And you can see our trimming average is -8 total. -6-ish. -8. So, negative trims, that would explain her fuel mileage issues. We'll just look at millivolts on these. Let me lock them in. Locked. All right, there we got our, we'll go back to line graph. There we go. Now our oxygen sensors are on here. Oxygen sensors are going to be your, looks like our maroon and yellow. Maroon is going to be the one that's moving up and down. There is going to be the upstream. So let's just kind of creep. We'll just kind of, short term is still blue, long term is still green. Again, we're trimming pretty good moderate load. And I'm just cruising at about, I don't know, 36 miles an hour. Going around a curve here. Just go ahead and give her a full engine load. Back into a D-cell. And you're going to see that upstream and downstream both hanging low. And they should come back to life here as soon as they start to step into the throttle. Yep, they did. And then upstream should start trimming again, or start switching. There we go. Starting to trim again. You gotta remember, I'm zoomed in here. I can zoom out. Let me zoom out here. There, now you can see, you'll be able to see that data a little bit faster for that oxygen sensor data. Nothing wrong with that O2. The other thing to keep in mind, when this came in, my oxygen sensors, the monitor hadn't completed because it had been another shop and codes had been cleared. So the O2 sensors haven't completed their monitor. But again, we're trimming minus 11 on the long term right now. Yeah. Some might argue, well, you check your mass airflow. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't a mass airflow problem. I did look at mass airflow, and it ain't a mass airflow problem. And our load is obviously there, so I'm not too concerned about mass airflow, especially when you got a cylinder specific showing itself, and you can feel that misfire. I'm worried about fuel delivery. So they're cruising. You can kind of see that O2 switching real nice. See that? That's what we want to see. That's some good switching. Again, trims are negative still. So, long term's trending negative, short term's bouncing, as it should with the O2. So, I'm going after injection, guys. Guess one other thing we can do is look at idle trims. Let's look at fuel trims at idle, and then we're gonna run right into the AFIT testing and be done with this thing. And I'm still gonna recommend we run a cleaner through it before we replace any injectors. I think we'll replace the ones that we know are having flow problems the worst, and or recommend replacement on those, and then run the cleaner through the rest of them, and we should be all right. Could you try a cleaner before replacing? You can, but like I said, generally speaking, when they start to get enough flow problems where they're actually flagging misfires, I don't know. You're gonna have trouble, in my opinion, trying to do that on a direct injection engine. And these injectors, I don't know if it's just where they're located that's the issue or what, but I've seen quite a few where they come in just with flow problems, and I don't know, you're dealing with boost in these 1.5s, and it's hard to say. I'm gonna pull over here so we can look at some trims at idle, just to get that documented, and then that should be enough for my story at least. Just pull over here. Whoa, settle down. Okay, turn the 4-ways on here. All right, let's take a look at these trims at idle and see what they're doing. Yeah. Now, you're going to be like, well, that O2's not switching, Pauly. That O2 is completely fine on a GM. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's nothing wrong with that O2. That's what it should do. And it's probably testing it right now, honestly. This is part of its testing. I've seen that before, where it just sits there and does that. Let's go back to our diagnostic data. I want to just see what our trim averages are. Field trim memory cell 14 running. Okay, that's definitely at, we're learning, it's testing the field trim system. 580 psi on our rail sensor, about 58, 57 on our low side. Closed loop, 10% alcohol. Obviously at idle, we've been running for 43 minutes. We're at 190 degrees. Calculated barrels at 13.9. Calculated airflow at 1.6, 1.5-ish grams per second. That's calculated, which is right about, this is a 1.5, so that looks pretty good. 14.1 psi on our boost pressure sensor at idle. That looks about right. Air cleaner life remaining 85%. Why am I not seeing it? Did I miss it? I must have missed it. So about 5% throttle position. Short-term field trim test average is 3%. So it's a little better. It's definitely bringing down. You can see that it's bringing down those trims, but then every now and then it'll trend negative. So the trims are within range not to throw a rich code, but it's on its way, trust me. Let's see here. We could try cleaning the mass airflow too. Oh no, what did I just do? I just seen what I wanted to look at. Let's see, long-term trim. Oh my goodness. Yeah, long-term field trim test average minus 10%. Long-term field trim test average without a purge minus 10%. And if you look, we're at minus 10%, but we are trending positive. But that's in field trim 14. That's in trim cell 14. Now, if I bring it up to a different trim cell, this is just off idle at about 2200 RPMs. Take a look at our trims. Those are test averages, minus 22%, minus 23% on that long term. Look at our trims up here. They're equal. So the short term's correcting. But why is there a stored negative trim that high? There we go, we're in fuel cut. Now the short term's, now we're trending negative again. See that? All right, flow test injectors. I'll give you the lowdown on the radio display unit, okay? The radio display cracked on her, okay? It wasn't covered under any kind of warranty because it cracked on her, you know, from applying her phone to it or whatever. And I talked to her and she's like, okay, well, I got a new one and da-da-da-da-da. She was under the impression this was the radio. This is not the radio. This is the radio controller. And she thought that it may need to be programmed. Well, it does if we're replacing the radio, which lives over there under the dash. But it wasn't turning on, okay? Now, the reason it's not turning on, and it is flagging a DTC for the front display unit. You see that red tape there? She had somebody that she knows working on this, and they, for whatever reason, cut this blue cable. Now, this blue cable, for those of you who are not aware, is the differential video wire, low voltage differential video wire, okay? And it is not replaceable without doing the entire instrument panel harness, okay? So there's that. Okay, let's take a real quick look while I got it idling in the bay here. I just want to see if it did flag any DTCs. Let's go back to our dashboard and let's run a complete system scan. Now I know it's going to have codes in here for the display, probably radio comm faults or something along those lines, display comm faults. And this is that this here, I've already looked at this and this doesn't apply. This is a loss of comms, and they basically want you to look at harness fitment issues. Not an issue. Let's go back to our dashboard. Okay, and you can see it logged and all these codes were cleared by me prior to the test drive. Tachometer circuit on the radio, but then again, loss comms to the radio. All these codes here were the codes that were in it before because the front display was disconnected when it came in. This is the LFV RPO engine, if you're wondering. But here's our Misfire code that's set. Guess we could take a quick peek at freeze frame. Let's go to GDS, module diagnostics, engine. Let's take a quick look at that freeze frame data. And you can see (120 grams per second at 94% load with 100% throttle. Desired in open loop, -6 on our long term. Fuel rail pressure was at 53 psi on the low side, 2,938 on the high side. 47 miles an hour. Alright. Pretty interesting. Can go to create report and take a look at that. Let's see what they got on here. So there's our data they're going to give us. Okay. And if we go into our, let's go back, let's go to data display, let's go to, this touchscreen is so sensitive. Let's go to Misfire data. Let's take a look at our history counts. Cylinder 3 has 381 counts. Cylinder 4 has 293 counts. So 3 and 4 are the ones that have the most counts on them. Okay. And you can see it idle here. If I give it a couple snaps, I got no counts. It's only under load. So 381, 293, 3 and 4. What is the firing order on these things? I'll find a firing order. But right now I'm going to get the A-fit hooked up. So, firing order on this engine is 1342, so 3 and 4 are right by each other, guys. So, you know, is it misidentifying? We do not have our A-fit because it is out for repair right now. So we're going to have to go old school, I guess, if you would say, or we're going to have to try doing an automated test. Let's go into engine, control functions. Let's go back. Let's go into fuel system and let's do a fuel injector balance test. Okay. Shift the park neutral, set the park brake, block drive wheels. Okay, park brake set, she's running. Continue. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch these PSIs, okay? Now, all this is going to do is it's going to cut that injector. Let's go to injector 2. Injector 3. A little bit more there on injector 3 if you notice. Injector 4. So 45.6 on 4, 45.6 on 2, and 45.7 on 1. So injector 2s are oddball. Alright. We're going to do that test one more time. So we're going to go back. We're going to go into fuel injector balance again. Alright. Okay. Let's cut injector 1 again. $45.4. 2. 44 PSI. 3. So now 3 is flowing about where it should be. 4. 5. Interesting. Let's do one more test. Go back to our balance. Continue. Alright. Let's cut injector 1. 45.7. Injector 2. 46.2. Injector 3. 45.2. Injector 4. 45. So 2 and 3 actually show the most variation. Let's try it one more time. Again, they're good and hot. This time I'm gonna give it a few revs. I'll let the idle stabilize. Okay, idle is stabilized. Let's cut injector 1. So 1's been pretty consistent with 45 psi. Let's cut injector 2. .6. Let's cut injector 3. 45.7. Let's cut injector 4. 44.8. Oh, you can't even make that up. See if it'll let us do it again. 1. 45.7, 2, 46.3, 3, 45.2, 4, 44. So now it's looking like cylinders 2 and 4. So which one is it? Classic. Injector 1 again. 45.2. Injector 2. 46.5. Injector 3. 45.2. Injector 4. 45.4. Should we try running a cleaner first? Let's do it. So essentially what I'm doing, running a half a can of top tier in here, giving it a few shots into the throttle body. I'm not doing it full bore. Just go until the engine starts to stumble a bit. Give her a few snap throttles. This is cleaning the intake valves and top sides of our pistons. Alright. And I got a fuel pump control circuit diagram up, and you can see here this is our fuel pump driver module, which controls our fuel pump, low side fuel pump. You can see our fuel tank pressure sensor goes to the fuel pump driver module, or the FPCM if you will, or FPDCM. The fuel rail pressure sensor input, fuel pump and level sensing assembly. So we want to essentially cut low side fuel pump, and if you look here, we got 2 feeds. One's an ignition feed. That's basically an input to that module, or a wake up, so to speak. And you can see it's got a 5 amp fuse in the fuse block under hood. The fuse we're after is this one right here, this 20 amp. That's its primary B positive fuse all the time. That's fuse 36, so let's go find that. And then we'll pluck that guy when we hook up to our low side to do the injector clean, okay? Alright, so fuse 36 is right here for the fuel module, right above these 2 relays. Alright, that would be this 20 amp right here. That one right there, the yellow one, okay? disconnected the air. We're just gonna let this keep pushing until she's out of oomph. Pressure out too. We need to. There's a purge on these. Alright. Should do it for that. Make sure our bottom gauge is at 0. It is. Disconnect these, take this clip out. Don't lose these little plastic guys, because you lose these, you're gonna have problems, okay? Make sure you don't lose these. They're on the clip for the intake pipe, or the throttle body, you know, the intake pipe to the throttle body, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and reattach that. We're gonna pluck this fuse, and then this will tell us right away if we got fuel. We got our fuel pump, the correct fuse, because she's going to die. It'll take a little bit. Alright? Just to give you an idea of how long they'll run without a fuel pump on the low side. It shows you how fuel efficient these new cars are, okay? It's still running with no fuel pump. Oh, oh, oh! Here it goes. Now it's dying. And it died. And we'll reconnect our mass airflow. We'll have to dump codes. We'll get this off so we can hook to the low side. Those of you familiar with GM know that the fan will stay running when you get a mass airflow code set. Let's go to dashboard. I'm just gonna... Alright, well, actually I can go back to GDS. And let's go back. Since we got the key on in service mode, basically, well, the key is on right now, so let's go ahead and dump these codes. We're going to set more codes, obviously, but we're going to dump them. We'll go into DTC display. Alright, we're just going to click on all of these. Shift. It's probably not going to let me. Let's see, clear DTCs. Okay, add. Okay. Okay. Alright. Now our fan shut off. Go back. And back. And back. Alright, shut our key off. Alright, now I'm going to hook up the intake pipe. And we're going to adapt to the low side of the fuel pump. The high pressure fuel injection pump, okay? Alright. GM makes it nice and easy. Your low side line is right here. You can go ahead and disconnect it right here, and you hook right in. This will feed the low side of our injection pump. You can see I've got this all closed, and I went ahead and turned my regulator down to about 60 psi, well, about 59 psi. We'll adjust on the fly. This is closed right now, so we're not actually feeding the low side of the pump, but now I am. Alright, so you can see we're hooked up. Make sure you're hooked up on the right side of this. Depending on what system you use, this is closed. We're feeding right into the low side of the injection pump. GM makes it nice and easy, and there's connections right here to get in on the low side. That water you see down there is just from me washing up any fuel spillage I might have had. I went ahead and put the air on, adjusted my regulator down to just under 60, about 58 psi. We opened up our valve, so we are feeding the low side pump, and we've already removed our fuel pump driver control module fuse, so that low side pump is not going to run. And essentially we're going to be running straight on the top tier. All right, so here we go. And you can see that we're maintaining that 59 psi-ish. We might bring it down just a little bit more. Okay. And this is going to clean the injectors, all right? So we're just going to, now it's important to note, this is the only approved, warranty approved cleaner for these injectors in this intake, okay? That stuff right there. And it's good stuff, and you get a nice healthy can of it. So we're going to run this until she dies. You can see it kind of came down on pressure. But we're just going to keep it right there. And should be good while we're running this service, and right about 56, 57-ish PSI is about right, okay? So I'll just let it run until she stalls out, and then we'll go take this thing for a good spin. We got to change the oil after we're done, and then clear codes and make sure that P0300 don't set anymore, okay? Now keep in mind that top tier that's in the intake is still in there. That stuff will continue to work. You know, there's going to be a little bit of cooling in there. I tried to avoid that by, you know, you give it a couple rev, you know, give it some, rev it, give it some, rev it. That's ideally what I like to do when the engine's good and hot, and then go take it for a spin afterwards to burn out whatever we can and let the customer know that, you know, it takes time to work, okay? All right, now we're going to disconnect our fuel from our low side fuel line. We'll reconnect our fuel line. We'll change oil, and then we're going to go take it for a drive and see where we're at. I will take the mass airflow out quick and just check it to see how dirty it is, because obviously I'm going to check air filter condition. Alright, that's disconnected. We'll just go ahead and put our fuel pump driver module, control module fuse back in. Alright, so I've already went ahead and cleared all the codes out, guys. I did a heater sensor relearn, idle relearn, fuel trim reset, and I also changed the oil type. So if you go into configurations and resets into reset functions, I did my oil life reset, oil type, engine oil type setup, change it to synthetic. It was set on conventional. Fuel pump trim reset, went ahead and did that. Did a fuel rail pressure, basically all my resets. Put everything back to learned values. Okay. And it's just going to go through a relearn now. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to do a crank relearn, crankshaft variation relearn. Again, set our park brake, which it is. Put our foot on the brake. We're already up to temp. Alright, and it passed. Okay, we're ready for our test drive. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and we're going to go to data display. Oh, go back. Misfire data. We're going to look at the same thing. We're just going to lock current 1, current 2, current 3, current 4. We'll check our history when we get back. And we want engine load. Engine load right there. We'll lock that up. We'll go to line graph. So again, all of our misfire counters are down at the bottom. Our engine load is up at the top, as you can see. And let's go take this thing for a spin and see what we get. I gotta keep in mind, you can see the haze coming out of this thing already from the top tier. So it's gonna gonna buck for a little bit. That's okay. So we might get some misfires due to the top tier in it, but it should smooth out. Oh. All right. It'll smooth out once we burn through that stuff, but it's gonna clean, you know, it's gonna run a lot better after running that can of top tier. You know, again, I ran half a can of top tier AC Delco GM top tier through the intake, and the other half of the can through the actual injectors. Now they don't say this, but this has been my long running theory. Let's see how much smoke comes out of the tailpipe. Hold on a second. Boost in the lot here. Yeah, not too bad. What was I gonna say? They don't recommend it, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you should probably just do this service on these direct injection engines. I don't care what it is. Every 30K. And this has got 27,000 on it. So, was it due? Yes. All right. Let me change. So we are still logging a couple misfires, but I think that's gonna clean up as time goes on. Let's keep an eye on this here. See if the check engine light starts flashing and we get the traction light, because that was her main complaint when you load it. So again, you're gonna get a couple misfires just like we were before. And that's that cleaner. But I'm not feeling that hesitation I was feeling before, I can tell you that. So far so good. But what I was gonna say is you might notice a couple misfires on those D-cell events, and that's that intake cleaner that's still in the intake. Let's give it a boost. Let her off. Yeah, it's not even doing it anymore. Definitely not missing a beat now. I'd be curious to know. We'll run another automated balance test here in a second, just to see the difference. Let's give her a good boost from stop. Yeah, see there's logging 2 on cylinder 3. So that injector right there might just need to be replaced altogether. All right, here we go. Cylinder 3 misfires, I'm going to recommend cylinder 3's injector be replaced. It actually looks like cylinder 4 as well. But again, I'm not getting the light, and it all is going to matter. What's going to really matter is, did it set a P0300? On the D-cell event, and that could be perfectly normal. To be honest with you, I've never really monitored the misfire counters all that much on these 1.5s. They're just still too new. 2 on cylinder 1. They're too new for me to really know exactly what normal is. Boost this baby up. We're on the highway now. Alright, camera or not, was when it would bite really hard and miss hard, obviously the engine light would flash, and then your traction control light would come on, and the service electronic stability control system light would come on, which is basically what happens anytime you have a misfire on the GM. Okay, here we go. Let's boost this baby up. Give her another good load. It's definitely boosting just fine. All right, we're at 65. We're gonna set it. And you can see that boost event, or that high engine load event. Not a single misfire logged. So, does the top tier work? Yes. But you got to catch it in time. You got to catch it, like I said, you know, if you start them off right away when they're young at 30K, every 30K interval, you're going to be doing a induction and fuel injection service along with an oil change. Probably an air filter and clean the mass airflow. This one had a fairly new air filter in it, and the mass airflow was nice and clean, so I didn't even touch it. I didn't really see any issues there to begin with. So, does it work? Yes. Will it always work? No, because I have seen these get to the point where they'll run excessively rich, to the point where they'll throw fuel trim rich codes, or you get the fuel trim imbalance codes between cylinders, and that's a result of injection problems. But this thing is looking pretty good. I'm cruising at 65 right now. We're at full temp. Let me give it a little bit of a tip in. Yeah, and I'm not feeling those fish bites, misfires like I was before. So, and there you can see on the D-cell, it does log a couple misfires, but that may not be an issue, guys. That might be normal on a GM, okay? That might be perfectly normal. I don't think that's going to flag a mill. It just is misidentifying. It's identifying misfires, but they're not really there, because I don't feel them. You know, I know my theory was that the injectors were, you know, kind of over-fueling, and I still think that that theory holds true. I still think that that could be the case, because you could see even when we looked at our balance test that they were having inconsistencies with cylinders 2, 3, and 4. And I'm more concerned about that lack of power, which I'm not seeing anymore, and I'm not feeling, the misfire anymore. So, and we're basically duplicating what she was doing when it occurred. So we're gonna try an injector balance test when we get back after these. You know, I've ran a little bit here. You know, yeah. See there again in that D cell, we're logging misfires, but I'm not feeling them, and I think that's perfectly normal. But you know, who knows? It could be a software issue. These are fairly new. Maybe this is something GM needs to fix. I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm documenting it. All right, so let's go ahead and turn into here. And I'm gonna say it's fine, guys. I'm returning it to the customer with the understanding that if it continues to happen, we're gonna attack these injectors, and literally we're gonna have to warranty them out. But I'm comfortable with shipping this as a fix as it sits. So let's see here. I'll pull to the back of the shop here. People just need to understand that it takes time on these new vehicles. It's not something that is that easy. I mean, you know, we can only do what we can do, and and they only give us what they give us, so. Alright, so let's see here now. Again, cylinder 1 is probably misidentifying due to 3, because cylinder 1 it's a 1342 firing order, so 1 and 4 could be misidentifying from the cylinder 3 injector. Alright, so now what we're going to do is let's go back out, and we're going to go back. We're going to check our fuel trims real quick. Just want to see what these trims look like at idle, and they look a lot better. Long term's at -4. You can see our long term, short term, long term, pretty much 0. Still slightly negative though, but short term fuel trim, short term fuel trim average is bouncing to 1 positive. So every now and then you'll see it right here. See how it's going +1? Well, I guess it's -1. Or is that something on the screen? I'm bringing RPM up. Keep in mind that it is going through a relearn right now. So as I bring RPM up, we're in different trim cells. And you can see that's pretty balanced. And the cleaner is in the intake still, so that's going to affect our trims until everything gets burned through and learned. Okay, again, we're in field trim cell 14 at idle. And we're going to let that stabilize and pay attention to our averages. It's definitely lower than it was, and I think over time, as it runs, it's going to come out of it. Alright, so let's see here. My battery's about to die on my phone, so let's go ahead and run this balance test real quick, guys. Let's see if we set any codes. Let me just quick take a peek. No DTC stored. Okay, good. Specific DTC. It should have passed the P0300. Show status. Passed. Okay. Let's just do a quick injector balance test. Control functions. Oh, come on, before my phone dies. Oh, this computer is just, the touchscreen's too sensitive. Fuel injector balance. Alright, let me set the park brake. Okay, done. Hit continue. Alright, injector 1 cut. 52.4. Injector 2 cut. 52.2. Injector 3 cut. 52.9. Injector 4 cut. 51.6. Injector 1 again. 51.3. Injector 2. 52.4. Injector 3. 52.6. Injector 4. 51. Injector 1 again. 51.5. Injector 2. 53.4. You see how it's all over the map? Injector 3. 52.9. And injector 4. 51.3. I'm okay with it. I know it's a little bit more inconsistent, and this is why I don't like this. If I had the AFET, it'd be better. That's only as good as That's why I didn't want to replace injectors without the A-fit. Okay, we're gonna let this go. I'm not feeling the concern anymore, and I'm gonna chalk it up as a fix. If it's not, I'll let you guys know, and we'll have to replace injectors accordingly. Let's go ahead and run DTCs one more time. You know, it is what it is, guys. So the only ones I should have in here, yep, is that front video display output signal, and that's because I got the display disconnected until they decide what they want to do, if they want to do the harness or not. All right, that's it, guys. I'm calling it. Have a good one. All right, so I'm going to call it right there. I know it seems long. I know it seems intense. You might not agree with everything I did. This is not a shout out. This is not a hit against anyone in the aftermarket. It's not a hit against anyone in the dealer realm. This is just, it is what it is. Take it for what it is. Learn from it. That's the point, okay? The bottom line is how are you going to learn unless you look at it? You got to look at it. Someone had to take a hit. I took the hit. So learn from it. Grow from it. Am I perfect? No. But I can tell you right now, ain't nobody out there with the 2020 1.5 LFV engine showing that kind of data. So God bless you. Take care. See you in the next one.